the one thing that I learned combining both classes is that history, or the person's personal history, seemed to dictate a lot of their beliefs, whether it was Freud's or C.S. Lewis's upbringing, or even in my discussions in the first class, that how we were raised and the culture we were raised in had a lot to do with what we believed in and how we lived our lives. And it took it was hard to change your views, but inevitably we all do at some point.
It required a lot of self-reflection, and we covered a lot of really intense topics, and I never really had thought that much about myself, but doing the diary and reading all the books, I really learned a lot about myself. So.
You just got to keep going. You have to be very open-minded, you have to be able to roll with the punches and be open to other viewpoints about the world. That's what I got from it. So.
And the classes were also, our first one, the science and religion class, was a very intimate class, and we were encouraged to talk a lot, and it was kind of difficult for me to say how I felt, and we were really encouraged to speak our minds, and that was something I feel you don't always get going to such a large university.
So if you are starting, you're saying that it starts from something that's extraordinarily minute or something that's very simplistic, but yet that still hasn't been proven what that initial thing is. Does that not require that there's some level of faith that you must have in order to believe that that ultimately will be discovered?
Well, what do you think? In a sense, that's right. And there is a meaning of the word faith, which is of the form, I believe that given enough time, humanity will discover something. One can have faith say that, I believe that humans will one day stand on Mars. And that's kind of a different meaning of the word faith. That's saying, I have faith that the human species is enterprising, and if there's a challenge, sooner or later somebody will meet it. In that sense, excuse me. In that sense of faith, yes, I have faith that humans will one day solve the riddle of the origin of life. That's a different kind of faith from saying, I have faith that Jesus was born of a virgin. There's no evidence that Jesus was born of a virgin, so the reason people believe it is pure faith. They either have a kind of internal revelation that it's true, or they were told that it's true by their parents or by their school teachers. It's a different kind of faith.
I'm a communication studies major, and it is very important to us to know our audience. That's always pounded in our head when we write or we speak or whatever. When you were writing this book, is your audience people that agree with you, or are you trying to, I guess, show them the light, or trying to help them understand this perspective?
And that's a fascinating, I mean, unlike you, I haven't really consciously thought very hard about that. But with hindsight, I can probably cobble something together.
Fame or integrity, which is more important? Money or happiness, which is more valuable? Success or failure, which is more destructive? If you look to others for fulfillment, you will never be truly fulfilled. If your happiness depends on money, you will never be happy with yourself. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. And this passage really speaks to me because it's just a testament to how I try to live my life, being grateful or content with the things I have. And I really believe that that's the biggest key to this, what we're trying to find is happiness in our lives.
I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. I like this passage because I especially like the part saying be patient with both friends and enemies, because I feel like you should treat everyone the way you want to be treated, regardless of how they treat you. And yeah, I really do. I live that way, and I just feel like regardless of what happens, you should still be polite and respectful to people. So.
A passage that really influenced me the most from Night is this. Never shall I forget that night, that first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke, never shall I forget the little faces of children, whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke beneath a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget those nocturnal silence which deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget these things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God himself. Never. And I chose this passage specifically because when my sister and I were in Auschwitz, so we would walk into rooms where the whole room would be filled with glasses or shoes. And for me as a future teacher, it was so interesting to be placed in that situation where you just see a whole room full of children's shoes. Like, it had such an impact on me where when we started reading this in Oxford, I just wanted to cry all the time and to think about the loss of life that occurred, but especially the children who couldn't live, who lost their life. And so that's really what affected me the most was in Night, was just how much didn't happen because of the Holocaust.
We saw Freud's house and C.S. Lewis's house. We went to a museum.
Any one of those stand out, or was a specific memory?
I liked all of them. Stonehenge was, well, I guess that stands out the most because the weird, like, things, the weird
rods.
energy rods we had to do. But that was fun.
For the second weekend of the course, we went into see Stonehenge, and normally you can't go up near the stones. They're walled off, and you can only walk in a giant circle around the entire thing. But we had special connections with this woman who sort of focused on finding medieval energy and spiritual energy in very historic places. And so we had to get there like the crack of dawn, get in a bus, freezing cold, totally exposed. You're there in a giant plain with only the stones around you. So first of all, you're wondering how they got there in the first place, because you're completely isolated, and these stones weigh tons, like so many tons. And you're there, and she let us go up right next to the stones. We got to touch them and feel them, and then she gave us rods so we could measure the psychic energy in the area and learn all about it.
And again, it was interesting for me to go to Stonehenge because I'd been there the previous summer, and you are very isolated from it. You walk around in a circle around the stones. But being in this group where we had special access to the stones, walking in through them and touching them, it was such a different experience than when you're just watching it from afar. But when you're up close in the freezing cold learning about it, was much more interesting.
Yeah.
And just really more exciting.